there, everybody. Guess what? It's Wednesday, which is unusual for us, we know, but it's Wednesday. It's 1 o'clock, and it's time for Life Downloaded Live. I am joined, rather risquely, from her boudoir with the lovely Samantha Rank, as always. I always point in the wrong direction. She's that side of me. But looking very stylish, it has to be said. Pretty in pink this afternoon. You're always fashionable, my dear. Always fashionable.
Great. So I always have like lots of super noodles and things. Dan, you're looking confused. Are you listening intently?
I am listening intently. We had a slight technical issue in the fact that nobody could hear you. So I've adjusted it though. Hopefully everybody can hear you now.
I can't believe I've just been talking, rambling for ages, and it was like I could have told you like the what is the meaning of life. And you missed it all.
Indeed. But yeah, we had a slight technical hitch there. But I've sorted it live.
Sandra, can you hear us?
Sandra said she heard super noodles.
Super noodles! I was just saying, so I'm in my bed. I've come out of my chair because I'm knackered today. It's been one of them mornings, and my PA has a personal family thing she had to go to. So I was left without her, but obviously that coincided with a massive Tesco shop. And normally I really enjoy putting things away because I'm a little bit like anal about stuff, like where to put things. But today, because I've not hardly anything in since moving back to London, I just went a little bit like, yeah, I'm going to put that in my basket. I'm going to have that. So this massive food shopping arrived and I'm worn out from putting it away. I feel absolutely knackered, but I am never normally without food because I used to live in an apartment on the 5th floor with one lift. It used to get vandalized quite a lot, and I found out the hard way that actually if you order Tesco's or Sainsbury's or any of the leading supermarkets that deliver,
many supermarkets are available.
They will not physically carry your shopping more than the 3rd floor, which kind of makes sense because that's like intense, but it doesn't help me, a wheelchair user with no lift on the 5th floor. No. So yeah, I mean, if the apocalypse came today, me and the cats would be pretty okay. I'm not gonna lie.
You'd be fine. Although I am exhausted. We were talking about before we came on. Now that I've sorted all the technical issues, Sam and I talk on a regular basis. We were talking about the weird exchanges you've had in your shopping today, in the fact that you ordered some mayonnaise and got sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah. I mean, so apparently, you know, when you get a substitute, and I never normally check them, you know, because you can take it back, can't you? But I'm far too British to be like, oh no, that's fine. I'm just like, that's fine. I'm a vegetarian, but I'll take that shank of lamb. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So normally I just don't even look at the substitutes. But for today, I'm watching my pennies. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to take a look. And there was 2. And I think I had green beans. So I'm obsessed with green beans, but from the tin. Because they're so low in calories. They're great. You don't need to cook them. They're already cooked. You literally have it with a bit of tuna or whatever. I'm giving you inspiration here.
You are,
You know,
you are.
calories,
Regular TV chef.
you know, a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of hummus. Boom.
Maybe that's the next TV show, Accessible Cooking with Sam Rank.
Me and my beans. So I put I was really excited about getting my beans. Beans, the broad beans. Yeah.
Yeah, broad beans.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then they didn't send any, so they sent me some I think tinned fruit. So I gave that back. And then I ordered some mayonnaise, and it's a special mayonnaise from Germany. And so I actually bought some from my mum because she's German, and she told me she can't get that in her Tesco. So I put 3 of them in my basket. Because my mum goes through an awful lot of mayonnaise. I mean, it's like, whoa. Yeah, and they gave me some dried tomatoes. So I'd love to hear from you all.
What is the weirdest supermarket exchange on an online shop you've had? Yeah.
And do you send it back, or do you like me just go, oh, it's fine?
I think for me, I've only shopped online for shopping and stuff on a semi-regular basis, because living with family, they quite often just go to the shop, so we don't shop online for groceries that often. I think I would if I lived alone, for sure. But I've never had some sort of crazy, outrageous exchange that I'm not happy with. So I've never had to send it back. But I think I probably would, because it would probably end up being something I'm never going to eat or never going to use. So
yeah, sometimes you can get lucky, and sometimes what they do. So say if you go for the cheaper option or whatever that is, they'll give you the more expensive substitute. Sometimes you can be winning
at life.
Or they'll give you potato croquets instead of mashed potato, which I'm down with. That I can tolerate. That's
that's a fair exchange. I mean, I'm not necessarily a mash person, so I know.
What?
Yeah, I don't like mashed potato.
No, this podcast is over. It's over. Next, you're gonna say that you don't like peanut butter.
I don't like peanut butter.
Oh, this is why we never got together, Dan. This is why we could never be lovers, because the fact that you do not like 2 of my staple foods.
Jif peanut butter, apparently, says Lisa.
Now, okay. Yeah, Jif or Sif, or is it now called Jif?
No, Jif was the bathroom cleaner.
Yeah, but
that is now called Sif. But there is a peanut butter called Jif.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe it's why it changed to Sif, like the bathroom cleaner, so people stopped eating bathroom cleaner. Jif lemon substitute, Sif for lemon toilet cleaner. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'd love to hear that, because apparently it isn't a human that changes it; it is a computer. But then you would have thought, oh no, because they wouldn't know. I would have kind of thought the people then packing your bags, would they not get the original list and then be like, why on earth is she getting sun-dried tomatoes instead of mayonnaise?
Oh yeah.
Why not just give her more mayonnaise? So that was my morning. Really eventful. As you can tell.
Indeed. I can't say I've had such an eventful morning. I've kind of got out of bed, done a bit of work, and now I'm here on the podcast. That's kind of my morning. But my lovely lady, yeah, I have washed my hair. So it's sort of still semi-drying, which is why it looks kind of 1970s footballer. Somewhat. It's crazy. Everybody keeps telling me I should keep the curls. So
I'm gonna do a poll on our Instagram page.
All right, do a poll on the Instagram page.
Hang on, I need to take a close up of your hair. Smile. All right, there we go. Right, I'm doing that.
That's probably a terrible picture, but we'll run with it.
It's all right. It's fine. Look at the state of me right now. And the thing is, I feel like such a fraud as well, because yesterday, when the sun was out, I did some social media and I did some filming. I'm doing some filming for a project. And the sun just, I had my makeup on, full makeup, obviously, washed my hair. And the sun just makes you look glowing, and it's great. And I took these pictures and no filter needed. I look shit hot. Now look at me. It's all gone Pete Tong.
Nah,
and I feel just a little bit like I'm I'm fobbing everyone off.
No, you see, I'm kind of seeing you right now, like, for those of you that can't see Sam, because we've been really terrible and not visually described ourselves again.
Doodle.
She is currently in a pink stripy dress with various shades of pink being the different stripes. Is wearing a rather fetching pink headscarf with her hair tied up and her glasses. And I'm kind of imagining her on a chaise lounge with one of those really long cigarettes, kind of,
What?
French
style. Cigarette?
Not that you smoke, but
no, you're not.
Just from,
no, you're not.
Just right, from the 1920s flappers on a chaise lounge sort of.
No, you're not. You're an absolute liar.
I'm not, but there you go. That's what I'm imagining right now.
Like locks. I'm saying, does Dan keep his locks? And locks is like the lock and key. It's the same spelling, right?
Yes, I believe so.
L-O-C-K-S.
Audience watching, please feel free to correct our spelling.
My spelling's gone really bad, and I keep doing this thing now where I'll write a post, and maybe it's because I'm just so tired, and I'll reread a post about 50 times, and I'm like, yep, sorted, fine, it's great. And then I'll go back to it the next day, and I've made like really, really like in your face errors, but not even spelling mistakes.
Yeah, completely different words. Yeah, and that's autocorrect at its finest. See, we've got controversy.
Look at your scary picture.
Oh God, that is a scary picture. Jesus, that's going on the Instagram. Oh my word.
You're in it, do you know what? It's too late now.
This is what happens when I let you control the Instagram.
It's on the Life Downloaded Instagram. It's fine. It's a safe space. Everyone loves you there.
Hopefully they do. See, we've got controversy in the chat though. Lisa's saying keep the hair. Sandra's saying shorten the hair. Like, it's up for debate.
Like, it needs to be a little bit shorter. It needs to be tidied up.
It needs taming. I admit it needs taming.
But I do like. But then again, I've always had. So my first sexual fantasy, as probably about a 5-year-old, was He-Man, Master of the Universe, Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren, yeah.
I actually have the VHS of that. I just found it in my drawer the other day. So every single day.
It's moments like this that I bond with you. So.
Every single day, so when I was in primary school, I used to go home for lunch because it was like a staggered inclusion thing, because I went to a special school to begin with, and then they were like, yeah, this is not very beneficial for you, so I went to mainstream. But I lived literally 5 minutes from the school, so my mum would pick me up at lunchtime, and every single day I would watch He-Man, Master of the Universe, with Courtney Cox in it, who was about 14 at the time. If anyone can find that for me on a DVD, you will be my best friend forever, because they kept doing Region 2, but obviously we can't play that. Or is it Region 1, which is the one we're not? Anyway, so yeah, so
we're Region 2. Yeah, we're Region 2.
Right, so I can only ever find it on Region 1, but I do have the VHS. I'm tempted just to get a VHS player just so I can...
See, I'm now going to check this now, because I'm pretty sure...
So that was my first wanking material, literally age 4 or 5. And that's not uncommon, apparently.
What, He-Man as masturbation material?
No, but just masturbating at age 4 or 5. Okay. And then that progressed to all the vampires in Lost Boys. The Lost Boys.
Okay.
The Lost Boys.
I'm definitely with you on this journey of sexual discovery right now.
This is where I'm going with it. So for me, I find men who have got that 80s look, shaggy hair, kind of. I kind of like, it takes me back to when I was much more sexually aroused by anything. Right now, I don't know what's happened to my libido, but do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think it takes me back to that childhood. I had a weird childhood. I'm going to stop speaking now.
You didn't have a weird childhood, but no, it is interesting, like the things different people find attractive. Sandra says, what other VHSs do you have? Does anyone have these machines these days? You're showing your age.
I don't. I think I chucked everything else. I clung on to my Buffy box sets for quite some time, and then they were just so big and bulky that I did have to part ways. But I do have them all on DVDs and digital as well.
There you go. See, I'm wondering if you'll be able to find He-Man digitally.
Oh, what on YouTube?
You look, she's on it now. Look.
Sorry, I don't really care about any of you right now.
So this is where I take over the podcast on a solo, because Sam is going to start looking for Dolph Lundgren as He-Man live on YouTube. This is what happens when you do a live podcast, everybody.
Only clips. Oh my God, look how fit he was. I still really fancy Dolph Lundgren. Like, he could be my granddad, but I'd still like do very, very naughty things to that man.
To be fair, I think out of all the action heroes, Dolph Lundgren is one of the guys that has aged quite well.
Oh, he's amazing.
In terms
he's
of
amazing.
In terms of that 80s, 90s action hero. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger hasn't aged terribly, but...
And what's the Frenchman?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad.
Yeah. See, so I did work solo last week when the delivery man came. It's true, Sandra, I did. I'm getting quite used to having my little...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, normally you can't shut me up, so sometimes it's like a welcome relief, isn't it? Really. I grew up with. So it makes it worse as well because I've got a thing for blonde hair, but I think that comes from my dad because I lost my dad when I was 9.
You did, yeah.
I that's so funny when I always say that. I always think like I left him down like the fish and chip.
It is a weird turn of phrase, isn't it? I left him at Tesco.
The aisle in Asda. And he was a blondie, natural blondie. So I think, you know, like Freud me up there or something. So yeah, so He-Man, Master of the Universe, Dolph Lundgren. So and then obviously Rocky 4. Come on now.
Rocky 4, yeah. I didn't realise you had such an in-depth knowledge of Dolph Lundgren's filmology.
See, you just think I'm this shallow, Buffy-loving fan, but I have my moments.
You do.
I have my moments. You just never ask the right questions, Dan.
Apparently not. Like, I am learning so much about you today. So much about you.
That's me.
So
anyway.
So yeah, grow my hair out, go back to the gym, and I should be on it.
Exactly.
Is that what you're telling me?
I'm going to get you a He-Man outfit.
Find a big sword and shout by the power of Grayskull.
Oh, I just love that. And then I love watching The Dark Crystal as a kid for the puppets.
Have you watched the new ones on Netflix?
Yes, I did start to watch it, but I think it was one of them where I was like, I really need to be in the right frame of mind for this. But I used to get really scared by the Dark Crystal, the evil people, the evil henchmen.
I never watched it, so
me.
I can't feel people.
It was so good. What are the childhood things you used to watch?
See,
from the obvious.
Do you remember Trapdoor? Like the kids show Trapdoor with all like the plasticine monsters and stuff?
No.
Oh, that used to scare me senseless.
What am I thinking of? The other Morph. I'm thinking of Morph.
Oh no, Morph was fine. Morph didn't scare me, but Trapdoor used to scare me as a kid. I will say that publicly. Now, like I'm like, what's I scared of? But at the time, as a kid, I was like, oh, it's a bit freaky.
Yeah, and we used to watch a lot the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah,
that was a real cartoon. That was a real cartoon. We're similar age though, so it obviously
we are. So we could reminisce like this.
And then on Netflix they've put Sister back on. Which
I have been watching Sister on Netflix. I will openly admit this.
Moesha, they put Moesha on there.
Yeah, I haven't started watching that yet, but I definitely did watch a couple of episodes of Sister, and I was saying to my lovely other half the other day. It's amazing watching something like that back and realising how much is actually in there as an adult that you missed as a kid.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh my God, they said that and got away with it. So yeah.
I was just thinking about how diverse the things I watched on TV were. So, you know, like now I look at kids. We obviously talk about diversity and, you know, with the Black Lives Matter movement and, you know, more more people of color on our screen, etc. And I just thought, my God, I grew up with like the main shows. They were all black families, or different ethnic minority groups, and it's really strange that we seem to have gone kind of backwards.
Yeah,
it's kind of progressed, but it just, I mean, obviously when I was little, I didn't, that wasn't in my mind. I just loved watching Sister Sister or Moesha or Kevin and Kel, or you know what I mean,
Keenan and Kel, not Kevin.
You know what I mean? And it's only now that I am more aware of things. I'm like, wow, I just,
But also, you named all those shows. All those shows were made in America. So
that's true. That is true. I had Nickelodeon.
Yeah, as did I. And, all those shows were American. Sister, Moesha,
And the Cosbys.
And the Cosbys, yeah. All those were American shows. And you had to have Nickelodeon, a specialist channel that you had to pay extra for to watch, So
that is true.
What was on the BBC and ITV is at the time is different. I'd say Channel 4 probably had a more diverse audience growing up. Generally, that was always Channel 4's bag, though.
Yeah, I mean, they had. I spoke to my friend Max. They had the red triangle at one point. So if a program on Channel 4 came up and I think it was like a red triangle in the bottom, it meant it was a bit out there.
Okay.
Sex, or it had controversial, but it was this whole thing. I don't know when that was, maybe the 80s.
I'm going to have to Google that now.
Yeah. But it was a bit, but it's crazy. That was like the warning, like, we're going to be talking about homosexuality. You know what I mean? So
Indeed.
we've got...
Indeed.
Jeez, Liz. We aren't just going to chit chat, but we talked before. My lips are really dry. Sorry, my lips are so sore. I don't know why. So I wanted to briefly talk about a film on Netflix.
Yes, which is a nice plug, considering we've been talking about retro TV. Look at how you've swinged into that.
Absolutely.
That's a transition. Anybody would think we're professionals.
It's called Run, as in Run. It was number 1. And I don't want to give too much of it away. I don't want to be a spoiler. But I was thinking of potentially writing something for one of my articles on it. So it features a young female actress who is actually a wheelchair user, and the story is the mother. When she's a baby, she has a whole host of complex needs, additional needs, and is a wheelchair user. And she lives with her single mother. And it comes to a time where she'll be going away for university, but as it transpires, the mother doesn't want her to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts, manipulating like the mail, like so she can't, see if the university has contacted her.
Oh, that mail. Okay.
Yeah, the mail. Post. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of the daughter starts to suspect Mummy Dearest doesn't want her to leave. Now it is a suspense horror thriller, and there is like a massive twist, etc. But first of all, I was like, I googled straight away, is she really a wheelchair user?
It's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? That generally, as a disabled performer and someone in the media, anytime I see somebody disabled on screen as a character that has an impairment, one of the first things I do is Google and go, are they legit?
Yeah. Absolutely, and she was. So I was like, yay, hurrah! And to be fair, she did not play a victim. Poor me. I mean, again, I can't really say too much because I don't want to give away the ending. But she even made a comment right at the end of the film that I was like, yes, good, good. Thank you for making that comment. It wasn't your typical, wormy disabled person.
Good.
Etc. However, given the fact there was a massive twist at the end and things weren't what they seemed, etc., I picked up on a few elements of this kind of, and I've seen it once before, this kind of, if a parent has a disabled child, that means their life is given up for them, and you have this codependency, and there was a little bit of that about it, for a lot of the film, and and obviously the mother was mentally unwell, and that's why she behaved the way she did. But it suggested for most part of the film that she didn't want her little baby to go, because ultimately it was just them, and she'd been her sole caregiver for 18 years. And that kind of touched a nerve with me as well, because I did have a codependent relationship with my mother that became quite toxic for both of us, and it got me thinking about, do I like the fact that we're portraying this narrative as well? Yes, it is a film. Yes, it was a horror. Yes, it is a thriller. Blah blah blah, and it needs to be dramatized. And like I said, things weren't quite what it seemed at the end. But it just upset me, because it was another theme of, oh well, if you have a disabled child, your life is essentially over.
Yeah.
And then I look back at my own kind of life with my mum, and I was like, well, my mum didn't really get much support. She didn't get respite. She didn't get X, Y, and Z. And the way disability was presented to her, so the medical model, etc. She felt like she needed to give everything up to be that person. So it was just really interesting, and it kind of, I was glad the ended the way it was, because it kind of explained some bits. But yeah, there was part of me in the film I was like, oh, do we have to have this kind of story that, being a parent of someone with a child with a disability is a bad hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, I think it boils down to similar arguments that you and I often have. And I say arguments in the debating sense rather than we're at each other's throats. In the fact of, I would be okay with that story if there was a bevy of other stories alongside it. So if you can tell that story, if you also, not in the same film obviously, but within the media in general.
That would just be weird.
Yeah. but if, there was someone else telling a story over on this channel where that wasn't the issue, and everybody had more rounded lives, and in fact it was the fact that their relationship was breaking down, and it wasn't impairment orientated, it wasn't disability orientated, it was just a disabled person whose relationship was breaking down, or a disabled person who was doing well for themselves, or whatever it may be. If there was a wide breadth of disabled stories and disabled life experiences within the media, then I'd be like, yeah, fine, tell your story. In the same way that, we've argued, once there's decent representation and disabled performers and deaf performers and neurodiverse performers are playing a wide breadth of characters, then I'm not going to be so antsy if somebody non-disabled is playing a disabled person. And I think it's the same sphere that, we're inspirations, we're villains, or we're victims as disabled people, and then you talk about the family of a disabled person and they're automatically a victim as well. It's like, tell a different story. Just tell the story of a family that gets on, and it just so happens that one of them is disabled. Tell the story, and I think that's what it boils down to, is the fact that if there was varied stories within the sphere, I'd let it go. But there isn't. So
I mean, I want you all now to go away and watch it, because it definitely, towards the end, it definitely turned it around, and there was definitely like, yes, hell yes moments. Like, well, I'm glad they made that point, or I'm glad that character said that, But again, there was, I think it was that whole thing of, oh, please don't turn out the way I'm thinking you're going to turn out, in the sense of, You know, the mum's gone psychotic because she's been cooped up with a disabled daughter, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean. She doesn't want her disabled daughter to be independent. Really,
Hmm.
I mean, it's interesting, you know, and I'm glad we're kind of having this conversation. I'm glad it was an actual disabled artist playing the role,
Yes.
and I'm glad the actual young girl and it was not a, you know, she was feisty, like really feisty. So I
Ah.
love that. So yeah, that's all your homework to go and watch.
So go and
Go and
watch
watch it.
Run on Netflix if you have Netflix.
So I was going to write about this for one of my next Metro column. However, you brought up a very, very interesting point about the vaccines, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to write about that instead. So yeah, thanks for that, Dan.
Oh no, it's fine. To sort of fill the gap, Twitter, as is often the source of our source material here on Life Downloaded, the lovely Dr. Amy Kavanagh, who I will always full name on this podcast,
Oh,
put out a tweet about the fact that disabled people quite often have to give in-depth medical history to gain access to things, be that toilets, housing, so on, so on, so on, and so on, and so on. The list is vast, and the list was by no means exhaustive. And it sort of rattled something in my brain, and it's personal, about the whole conversation around vaccine passports at the moment, which is very controversial to do with coronavirus and so on and so on. And there is a big debate going on, and rightfully so. Do I know where I sit 100% in this debate? No, I don't. But from a personal perspective, as one of those disabled people that has to prove how disabled I am or how not disabled I am, depending on the conversation and what it's for, on a regular basis, and give medical history, you know, when random strangers quite often will go, you know, why are you in a wheelchair? What's wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. For no other reason than they feel it's okay to ask that question. I'm somewhat going, so wait a minute, when everybody else has to all of a sudden potentially carry around an app or a piece of paper or whatever it may be to prove that you've had a vaccine, as somebody that has to prove themselves like that pretty much every other day when life is in a normal, whatever normal
yeah,
is these days, but you know,
yeah.
before
Pre-lockdown.
pre-coronavirus, pre-lockdown, when somebody that had to prove it on pretty much every other day, I don't necessarily feel sympathy. It doesn't mean I agree that we need passports. It doesn't mean I
No.
disagree that we need passports. But I don't feel the same level of sympathy. There is a bit of me on a personal level that goes, well, welcome to my life.
Yeah, and I think that's been reflected throughout lockdown. So not even about the passports, a little bit like, you know, I have openly said that I struggled right at the beginning of some people that I know, not necessarily close friends, just, you know what I mean? People that you just have either worked with or you know on social media or whatever, you know, after 2 weeks saying they were bored and how horrendous it was, and really, really, really being, I suppose, a bit extra about the fact that, you know, we went into the first lockdown and I was not that sympathetic towards these people, you know, and I intentionally, or maybe not intentionally, but I did not necessarily go out of my way to go on house party or to reach out to people constantly, because I knew full well as soon as everything was lifted and people like myself, you, Dan, and many other disabled people who were still shielding or just being disabled and, you know, living in a world that doesn't particularly like us, you know, that I would not be getting invites constantly to play games on a house party, or, you know, when everyone else went back to normal, you know. So even for me, you know, the whole essence of the pandemic and lockdown, you know, it has been well welcome to our world. And then, you know, you've added this on. I think Mick Scarlett did a fantastic tweet, and I hope I saved it, about exactly that. You know, saying that, I bet I haven't got it now. You know, saying that people were saying that it's a breach of our civil liberties. Oh, here we are. So Mick, I hope you don't mind me quoting your Mick Scarlett.
The lovely
I
Mick Scarlett.
know that Mick obviously watching our podcast all the time.
Obviously. We should get him on here one day. We really should.
We really need to. It said, funny how hashtag vaccine passports are diversive and discriminatory, but a lack of physical access for disabled people can go unchallenged for decades. Not saying I'm for passports, I'm saying I've lived my entire life being refused entry to plenty of venues, services and jobs. And it's very similar to what you said. I honestly nearly cried this morning because I am struggling with not having additional help and trying to be a badass boss woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I genuinely, and being a mother to 2 furless babies.
Furless babies, yeah. Not fur babies.
I am not to just to a point where, well, it would be great if I had a couple extra hours or some more support a week just to help me out a little bit. And even that process of getting more hours, I would have to divulge all sorts of things. Even applying for no contributions towards my care, because I even though when I first applied I was on benefits, not really having any income. The council wanted me to pay at least £60 a week towards my assistance, which at the time was a lot of money. It's a lot of money for anyone, really, given our current situation. And I had to, contest it. And my letter that I wrote to contest, I had to talk about my mental well-being. I had to even talk about, and I apologise if there's too much information, but the fact that sometimes when I'm on my period and I have heavy periods, I can't physically get out of bed fast enough. So then I soil the bed, so I ruin my bedding. So I have to buy new bedding. And then if I don't have the care, I can't physically strip my bed. So I have to, all sorts of really, really intimate stuff to strangers to be like, please give me some more hours. Yeah. Please give me the support I need.
And, simply because vaccine passports, if you want to call them that, the government have got a different name for them. I can't remember what they're calling them right now. But vaccine passports are being looked at to get you into venues for events. Disabled people, if they want an accessible seat, have had to prove they deserve that seat all my life. I've had to produce my blue parking badge. I've had to produce my PIP letter. I've had to produce all of that to then go, yes, please, I would like an accessible seat at your event. And
do you want to write this article for me? And we'll go halves we'll go halves on my fee.
Don't tempt me.
You heard it here first. Sam doesn't do her work, really. No, I'm joking. I really do.
Don't tempt me. People have got credit cards to pay.
I know, right?
See, Sandra in the comments is saying she recently had to send her PIP letter to Ticketmaster.
Yeah, too.
So
I'm writing this down. The blue badge, and then also for a rail card.
Rail card, blue badges, for cinema seats, for
CEA card.
Yeah, the CEA card. Like various arts establishments. Now the arts establishments thing is moving forward, because I know there is conversation with the current government's arts champ. Well, he was the current arts champion. He just literally left the post last week, Andrew Miller, the arts champion for disabled people. There is talk about a universal access card that we only have to apply for once, that all venues will hopefully come on board with.
So will you send me the link for that?
I don't know if there's a link for it yet. It's really in discussion, but I can link you up with the lovely Andrew.
Or anything that reference it. Sorry, I'm kind of making notes.
Making notes, because we are feeding into Sam's article for the Metro.
It's great. No, this is all really great. I'm so knackered at the moment that if I don't write notes, I'll be like, what? What day is it? Where are we?
Exactly. But this is the thing. Why can't we have one app for all access, says Sandra? Well, this is kind of the goal, Sandra, for the Universal Arts Access card that Andrew Miller has been working on for a while. He spoke about it on BBC Front Row last week on Radio 4. So there you go. That'll be on BBC Sounds. I can send you a link for that.
Okay, cool. Playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
A lot of I get the point that it's a constant repetition. That's the point that it's tiring, and it's, you know, no one else constantly has to do this. So there are ways of getting around that, like having a universal way, or not having to reapply for things every freaking 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But playing devil's advocate, you know, these immunities are there so that they don't want to be abused, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, so like a bathroom, so the radar key system. The fact that the radar key can now be bought on Amazon is just like a slap in the face for, I think so. You know, so I actually agree that you should have to give some sort of evidence, you know, for that, instead of anyone being able to buy it. But then equally, not everyone receives benefits or has proof.
Exactly.
You know, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So
you know what I mean.
It's a catch-22 situation, and I appreciate that. And I think, you know, getting back to the original topic is, again, I don't know whether vaccine passports should be a thing. This is why there is a debate going on. But what I find problematic about the whole scenario is, when it comes to things like PIP, when it comes to things like us accessing events, when it comes to all of that, is there are a large number of people, not everyone, this is not, you know, me tarring everyone with the same brush, but there are a large number of people that openly support we should have to give up that amount of information to get that support, that are now going, no, we shouldn't have to get a vaccination or prove that we've had a vaccination to get into a stadium. And I think it's the double standard for me that I'm struggling with.
Well, it's that othering again, isn't it? We are, you know, it's the othering of us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there needs to be some sort of regulation, because I don't want non-disabled people clogging up the disabled space on, you know what I mean, on X, Y, or Z or whatever, you know. So I get there needs to be that, but for things like PIP, and for things that are, you know, that we have to give such intimate, you know, and not just to one person, to a number of different people, and, you know, and go into great depth. Like for me, it's always been my argument, you know, most of us who have got any form of disability or chronic condition go and see a doctor, a specialist, or someone. Like, you know, we have to have that regular interaction, no matter what it is. You're like, I you know, unless you're totally against modern medicine or anything like that, then, you know, you don't have that connection. But most of us do. And for me, that should be enough evidence. A doctor's letter, that should be enough evidence.
I mean,
you know,
on the flip side of that, I don't go and see a doctor super regularly.
But you could though, and you have as a child.
Or as a child, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have got access to these things because of your condition.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So say if the law came in and went, okay, for you to get PIP, you need to see a physician. I can't say that word. You know, physician. That would not be a problem, and maybe, you know what I mean. Or if you knew that was the case, then maybe you would go to every 6 months or every year for your annual,
of course,
checkup. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's just one of those things, and I think it's happened for a lot of the disabled community. If you travel through Twitter at the moment, that again, you know, like I say, for me, it's the double standard that the people shouting, "We shouldn't have to carry a certificate. We shouldn't have to do this," are perfectly okay with disabled people having to give over personal information on a super regular basis.
I think that's it. It's the you know, the velocity of it, isn't it? It's constant.
Yeah, you know, rail cards, seats, PIP. The list is continuous.
If you think of any more, send it over to me. I'm going to pitch that to my editor. Thanks everyone for helping me, because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it gets to like the time for writing, and I'm like, wow, I don't know what I. And that sounds really pathetic because there's always something you can write about. But sometimes when the pressure is on, you're like, and it does wake me up at night, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to write?
I get that, and it's the same with, because writing essentially, whether you're a journalist or you're a creative writer, is a creative process, and everybody, as an actor, as a performer, everybody has those creative things where they go, I just don't know, I just don't know. So yeah, that's perfectly
I have it
normal.
a lot though.
Just make sure I'm on the byline, like by Sam Ricardo. It's fine.
Oh, honestly, do you know what? Well, I mean, the Metro are always really great with me, and if I'm not, feeling that great, or if anything comes up, and also they quite like getting some guest writers. If I pass the baton on, so that they're very supportive. So that's not a problem, but I will go and pitch that. Because I'm not plugged in. I am running very low on battery. So with that, I think we're already we're over time.
We are slightly over time by a minute. I mean, we're pretty good at this TV stuff. It is quarter to 2, which means we've had our usual 45-minute slot. So before Sam runs out of battery, it's not a bladder this week, but a battery.
I know, so weird. Maybe I'm dehydrated. That's maybe why I got sore lips.
Sandra's come up with flappers and passports for this episode's title. Flappers and passports, or Dolph Lundgren and passports. Who knows? He-Man and passports, maybe. Who knows?
Oh, sorry. I just opened up. Who are you? I just opened up my emails, but I was on the junk, and I was like, "What is all this?" Instead of my inbox, I was like, "What the heck?"
So, guys, before Sam's battery dies, we should probably wrap up this podcast. I know for those that have been listening on audio, I'm a couple of weeks behind. It's because my schedule's been crazy. I plan on editing them up this week, having them up on all the general usual podcast platforms.
Yeah, you're slacking.
I am slacking.
Slacker.
So you'll have 3 podcasts hopefully on the normal podcast platforms this week. My apologies for being somewhat slow, but this has been potentially He-Man or Flappers and Passports. We're undecided.
He-Man.
We love you all. My co-host has been the lovely Samantha Renk. I am, of course, Dan Edge. This has been Life Downloaded. Stay safe. Look after one another. If you are venturing out because of restrictions shifting, have a good journey, but stay safe, stay healthy, look after one another, and we'll see you all soon. Take care, guys.
Au revoir.